You ever went on vacation and was so mad when you got home that all you could think about was going back on vacation and you didn't want to go nowhere but the same place? Our 4-night stay at Excellence Oyster Bay was truly excellent. The champagne upon checking in really set the tone for this vacation. I booked the private pool suite, and since we arrived to the resort late, we just changed into our swimwear and ordered room service the first night. Room service was decent, but the breakfast buffet the next morning definitely exceeded our expectations. After breakfast, we stopped at one of the bars for cocktails before we took a self-guided tour of the property. With 8 bars, 4 swimming pools, a spa, and over 11 food options, this resort also sits alone on a peninsula, surrounding you with beautiful beaches, although we found that the main beach was best for swimming. After our walk, it was back to the bar and then to the room to relax in our private pool. For me, this suite definitely encourages a more intimate pool experience and was one of the highlights of my vacation. We lounged around by the pool until later that afternoon before choosing a restaurant for lunch. The views at all the restaurants were amazing, and it seemed as if the food and drinks were only getting better and better. After lunch, we tried a couple of Bob Marleys and headed back down to the main beach area for my wife to swim while I ordered more drinks from beach service. After a shower, nap, and another trip to the bar, we were ready for our first dinner restaurant. Excellence Oyster Bay specializes in fine dining, and with each restaurant having its own unique menu, I was glad it was all inclusive. After an amazing dinner, we made another stop at the bar before heading back to the room for a late night swim. Breakfast the next morning definitely continued the trend, the variety of menu options and a beautiful view. After a trip to the Hummingbird Nursery, we got in our rental car and headed down to Dunn's River Falls. The falls are so beautiful, and our original plan was to get about to this point and then stop to take pictures before playing in the water. But this is only about halfway up, and what made this experience truly special is the guides that help you along the way to get all the way to the top of the falls. While this can be dangerous, and it definitely involves a little climbing, it is extremely easy and definitely worth the visit. After making it to the top, we headed back to the car and then over to Island Village to do a little sightseeing. We then headed back to the resort for dinner reservations at a 2-in-1 hibachi/Asian cuisine, and after trying both the restaurants and drinks, it was definitely time for bed. The next morning started with drinks and a trip to the beach before getting dressed to head out to town to grab a few Jamaican patties and try the Jamaican KFC. After sightseeing, we headed back to the resort, changed into our swimwear, and it was down to the beach to relax and swim. For our 4th and final night, we headed down to dinner, and then once again, everything was amazing. So much that we had to try a second restaurant where we were able to get one of the best steaks that I've ever tasted. We took one final swim, and then the next morning stopped at the breakfast buffet before checkout. We stopped at Fort Lauderdale Beach for food and drinks, and then it was back to the airport for our flight home. At this point, I already miss Jamaica.